Yep, he's planning another project. So, this Father's Day at Lowe's, tap into free gifts for Dad. Get a free Select Craftsman power tool when you buy a Craftsman V20 charger with 2 amp-hour and 4 amp-hour batteries. Plus, get a free DeWalt power tool when you buy a Select 20-volt Max XR 4 amp-hour battery kit. Dad knows our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 7/14 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Ever wonder who's out there making the world go round? It's truckers. Who unites baristas with coffee beans? Truckers. Who unites dogs with their favorite chew toy? Truckers. That's why Progressive offers truckers even more protection with Cargo Plus coverage to keep truckers moving right along. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Not yet available in California, New York, and Virginia.
Ever notice how life's best stories don't happen in your living room? They happen on the open road, out on the water, or parked under the stars. At Progressive, they get that you want to focus on the experience, not worry about the what-ifs. That's why they offer quality insurance designed for your ride, whether that's a boat, RV, or motorcycle. Adventure with confidence. Visit Progressive.com and see how easy it is to protect your favorite way to get away. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in D.C. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 468 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
Tired. You and I just got back from CrimeCon separately.
We did.
Not together, but separately. We had a good time. We met a lot of great people, some new people, some people we've known for many, many years.
Loved it.
But there's no time to rest because I got to get ready to go to Jamaica and you're heading to Greece.
I know it.
So we've got to get a bunch of recording done. Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Richard Ramirez jump out at our highest level.
Well, thanks, Richard.
Patrick Erickson also jumped out at our highest level.
Erickson in the house.
We had Casey Van New.
Thanks, Casey.
Jackie Hansen.
Well, there's Jackie.
And Charles Thompson.
Well, thanks, CT.
And if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Rebecca.
You mean Rebecca?
Yep, probably. I get an email that says, Gibby said it exactly correct.
Yes.
Listen, we have an episode out right now on True Crime All the Time where we're talking about a 13-year-old named Casey Woody, who in 2002 was stalked, abducted, and murdered by a 47-year-old man she met online who had been posing as a teenager in chat rooms. It's a tragic case, but it's also extremely interesting as to how all of this went down and how the authorities identified this guy.
It's just disturbing to me.
It is. Yeah, it really is. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm ready.
We're talking about the murder of actress Barbara Colby. Barbara Colby was murdered in 1975. Shortly after she got a big break in her career, a major role in a new sitcom. 50 years later, her murder remains unsolved. Barbara Colby was born on July 2nd, 1939. She started her career in theater. In 1964, she performed in the play 6 Characters in Search of an Author. The next year, she made her Broadway debut in The Devils. She appeared in multiple productions throughout the 60s, such as Under Milkwood, Murder in the Cathedral, Dear Liar, A Doll's House, and Julius Caesar.
Ooh, Julius Caesar. We were just there.
Does Caesar really live here?
No.
Also, do you have a big bank of payphones in case my pager goes off?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny if people get that.
But she did have, during the 60s, a really good career. Barbara moved to California in the late 60s to continue pursuing theater. In 1968, she joined the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco as a lead actress. Over 2 years, she appeared in about 30 productions and maintained a full schedule of classes.
I, too, was a lead actress. I, too, was a lead actor.
Okay, you think I'm taking that out? Because I am not. So you might as well just go on with your thought.
I've got a few productions underneath my belt, too.
As a lead actress, I can imagine you do.
You can probably still find them underneath the Rex West production company.
In the old days, in the old video VCR stores, they were back in that room
that one
that
corner
had like the beads or the curtain that only certain people were allowed to go back in there.
I don't know what you're talking about. You sure have a pretty good description of it.
In a 1970 interview with the LA Times, Barbara described what she loved about working for the American Conservatory Theater. She said the thing that happened was that we were able to evolve together as a company. One of the biggest flaws in the commercial theater is that you get a scenic designer, a custom designer, a whole bunch of people who have perhaps never met each other. Whereas if you have a company evolving together and minds which can work together and develop a kind of theatrical shorthand, you can create something without all the handicaps of people meeting for the first time.
Yeah, we call that organic growth today.
Okay. I know there's a lot of buzzwords in today's business world, but I mean, it is true, right? If you can keep the same group together, and it doesn't matter if it's business, sports, whatever, I think it makes it a little bit more easy to be successful. You look at some of the really successful dynasties in sports, most of it was because they kept a large core of the people together for a number of years.
That's very true. And even think about comedy. Think about SCTV.
Yeah.
Places like that.
Saturday Night Live. Yeah. All those things. She also said about her decision to move from New York City to San Francisco. You don't go into regional theater for glory, and you're not going into it for money. So obviously you're going into it for some sort of personal growth that you think is important for you to have in your work. To me, acting is an interpretive art that deals with other people's ideas. You're an instrument, and you want to refine and develop that instrument as much as humanly possible.
How many times have I told you that?
That you have to refine and develop your instrument?
Yes.
Okay. And what have I told you? Whatever you do on your off time, that is up to you. But I actually thought that quote was pretty profound. We talk about people who go into acting. Why do you think most people do it?
Well, I would back in the day say because I think that they have a passion for it. But now I'd say they go to be famous. They want fame.
Fame and money.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do it for that. And what happens? Okay, you're scratching and clawing, working a waiter, waitress job, going on auditions. Some people make it, some people don't. I'm not getting that from her at all. She actually says, hey, if you're going into this for the money, you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
Barbara met her future husband, Robert Levitt Jr., the son of famous singer-actress Ethel Merman, through the ACT. He joined the ACT as a stage manager during its first years in San Francisco. And, let's face it, Ethel Merman was a little bit before my time, but she was a very famous singer and actress. The only thing I really know of Ethel Merman is when she does the cameo in the movie Airplane.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's singing like in the bed, the hospital bed or whatever it is. Barbara was a successful and well-known theater actress, but it was difficult for her to break into the television industry.
You telling me, man. Rex West has been trying and trying and...
Again, if you just look at a place like Hollywood, LA area, how many people there are trying to be actors actresses.
Right.
Half the town. I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of people. And it's a very small percentage who make it big.
You know, that's why I keep going, because I say you're just one no away from yes.
Yeah. I think as you hit 60, though, you might be a lot more no's than just one away from yes.
I'm going for those older roles.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
You're not trying to start a new 21 Jump Street, I wouldn't think.
Call it 60 Jump Street.
Barbara spent years doing smaller roles before she earned one of her biggest career opportunities. In 1971, she appeared in the Columbo detective series in an episode titled Murder by the Book. In the show, Barbara plays a shop owner named Lily Lysenko, who miscalculates the danger of blackmailing a murderer. The final scene focuses on her terror as the killer closes in. And Columbo was a big show. Barbara also had guest roles in other big shows like The Odd Couple, McMillan and Wife, The FBI, Medical Center, Kung Fu, and Gunsmoke.
Yeah, I remember some of these. I mean, I remember Columbo, love Columbo, you know, like the little mystery, and he solves it at the very end. Like,
sure.
Like they all do in those type of shows. And then Kung Fu, love Kung Fu with that David guy.
David Carradine.
Yeah. Grasshopper. And then, I mean, The Odd Couple was just funny.
Yeah, I thought those two actors were perfect. The story was good. It was just a funny show. But I think it goes to show, right? I mean, these were guest roles. Yeah, I get it, but she's a working actress and she's on a lot of big shows.
Yeah.
She never stopped working in the theater industry. She did an off-Broadway role in Richard III and returned to Broadway to perform in Murderous Angels in 1971 and a revival of A Doll's House in 1975. After a lengthy absence, Barbara returned to the American Conservatory Theater. In 1972, she returned to the West Coast after finishing her role in Murderous Angels. She was glad to be back in San Francisco and told the Oakland Tribune, "I don't enjoy the actor's life in New York. I'm not a drinker, and I don't enjoy hanging out in bars after the show. I don't enjoy all that theatrical gossip. Life in San Francisco is so much more real."
Well, you know, I mean, different strokes for different folks, you know?
I've heard that before.
Yeah. It's a quote from me, by the way.
So you are the originator, and everybody else has just used it over the years?
Yeah, I coined it.
She said about her decision to leave New York City, "I believe in timing and being in the right spot at the right time. When I left, it was to explore other areas. What I want more than anything else is to integrate my work with my life, and the only way that seems possible is to have a continuum I have some control over. ACT and I seemed linked by other things. I was getting into transcendental meditation, and so was the company. Some of my dearest friends were here, and the season looked wonderful, and it seemed the right time to come back. And man, was that transcendental meditation big in the 70s.
It was.
I mean, I don't really remember it because I wasn't born until 73, but still, if you watch any show about the 70s, they're going to talk about transcendental meditation.
They will. And you see it in some of the, you know, older shows or some of the shows that are based on the 70s.
In 1974, Barbara appeared in two films, California Split and Memory of Us. In 1975, she played a supporting role in Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins. I never heard of any of those, but in 1974 and 1975, she was a guest on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
And I love the MTM show.
That was a big show, very popular, and it was good too. In 1975, MTM Enterprises executives decided to cast Barbara in a lead role in the spinoff show Phyllis, starring alongside actress Cloris Leachman.
Well, that sounds like a big move.
Yeah, I think it would be a big role. Cloris Leachman is an amazing actress. I mean, she was great in some of the Mel Brooks films. She was really good in that show, Raising Hope.
Yeah, she was.
she's very funny. In Phyllis, Cloris Leachman reprises her role of Phyllis Lidstrom, who moves from Minneapolis to San Francisco after the death of her husband. Phyllis takes a job as an assistant in a photography studio owned by Julie Erskine, played by Barbara. This was supposed to be Barbara's big break in the TV industry, but tragically, she was murdered after filming just 3 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, she's worked so hard in the theater and in TV and film. Now she's getting the big break as a lead, records 3 episodes and then murdered.
Gibby and I were a little terrified when we started this podcast. I think most people are when they start any big endeavor, especially some type of business, right? Is it going to work out? Are we going to look like idiots? Well, now we know we made the right decision, but there were some bumps in the road along the way. One thing that really helped us out was working with a great partner like Shopify to help with our podcast merch. It helps when you have a partner like Shopify on your side. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Gymshark to True Crime All the Time to brands just getting started. What I love about Shopify is it's packed with helpful AI tools that make writing product descriptions and enhancing your product photography way easier. Shopify can also help you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And they have amazing customer support. Award-winning, in fact. 24/7 customer support. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/unsolved. Go to shopify.com/unsolved. That's shopify.com/unsolved. This episode is sponsored by Ro. Hey, listen, everybody's talking about GLP-1s these days, but I think a lot of people assume that they cost a fortune, and that assumption keeps people from looking into them. There's also the question of insurance. How do you get started? Well, Ro simplifies all of it by helping patients understand their options up front and find the lowest cost way to access FDA-approved GLP-1 treatment, whether covered or paying cash. Ro really wants to help people lose weight. That's why they have the lowest cost options out there, whether you're paying with insurance or cash. They even have a free insurance checker to make it easy to see if you're covered. And if not, Ro offers lower cost cash pay FDA approved GLP-1s, including newer dosage forms like daily pills and multi-dose pens. When you become a Ro member, you'll have support throughout the process. You'll have access to your provider on demand for any questions. So join the over 1.5 million people who've trusted Ro on their weight loss journey. I use an injectable for my diabetes, but if I didn't, I would definitely try the GLP-1 pill from Ro. Go to ro.co/unsolved to see if you qualify. That's ro.co/unsolved to get started on Ro. Go to ro.co/safety for boxed warning and full safety information about GLP-1 medications. On the evening of July 24th, 1975, Barbara taught an acting class at 8970 Ellis Avenue in the Palms area of West Los Angeles. It was a late night class, and Barbara stayed behind even later talking to her friend and fellow actor James Kiernan in the parking lot at about 11:50 p.m. As the two were talking, a pair of armed men approached and fired 2 deadly shots, one at Barbara and one at James. Barbara died at the scene. James Kiernan was transported to David Brotman Memorial Hospital, where he died of his injuries at 1:32 a.m. But James did live long enough to give a description of the attackers. Now, it wasn't extremely detailed, but he described the shooters as 2 black men driving a light-colored van. The men told them to put their hands up before shooting and driving off. He had no clue who they were. Investigators noted that Barbara and James were shot at close range, but were not robbed. Police theorized that the killers may not have stolen anything. because they panicked. But I do think, you got to take a look at this, right? You have to figure out why these two men would want to approach Barbara and James and then shoot them and then just leave.
Yeah, without stealing anything. It sounds more like a hit.
Right. And I do think at one point there were a couple of theories. One was that they were targeted, and then another was that this was just a random drive-by. But I don't know in how many drive-bys the shooters actually get out and tell you to put your hands up.
Yeah, why go through that? Just shoot.
From the car, right? That's normally, I think, how a drive-by happens. At the time of the murder, Barbara was separated from her husband, Bob Levitt, but the split was said to be amicable. It seems that Bob was never considered a serious suspect. Well, obviously, I'm sure they knew that it wasn't Bob who pulled the trigger, but could Bob have hired the men? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something they have to check into. LAPD detective Michael Maloney later told the San Antonio Star, "It seems like Barbara and James were either in the process of raising their hands or were too slow in raising them. Whatever happened, someone decided to shoot them. The most I can tell you is that it was a small caliber revolver."
Maybe it was their reaction to just put their hands up. When someone comes at you with a gun, it seems like a natural reaction to put your hands up. Like, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. Don't hurt me.
But even in that scenario, wouldn't you think if the motive was robbery, they would quickly rifle through their pockets, take a purse, take a billfold, something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand the theory that once the shots are fired, well, you think, well, I got to get out of here, right? Because people are going to be here. But then you've basically shot two people for nothing. At first, investigators tentatively linked the murder to the fatal shooting of Gloria Witt, the wife of a Lockheed Corporation executive. Gloria was also murdered on the night of July 24th. So July 24th, 1975 was a violent and chaotic night for law enforcement in the West Los Angeles, Santa Monica area. In just 40 minutes, 3 people were murdered. 6 others were threatened, assaulted, or robbed in 3 separate attacks.
Wow. That's intriguing because what's driving this? Is this like a planned event?
Yeah. I mean, and maybe that was very strange for 1975. I don't know. I feel like in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles area, West Los Angeles, in 40 minutes, there's probably quite a few shootings around town.
Yeah, maybe today, yeah.
A 4th robbery was also being investigated for a possible connection. All of the incidents involved assailants driving vans. In 3 robberies, the victims were confronted as they approached their homes. The incidents occurred at 11:10, 11:30, and 11:50 p.m. At 11:10 p.m., Roland and Gloria Witt were dropped off with their friends, John and Nancy Hudson, by Mr. and Mrs. Charles Clemenshaw at the Hudson's home in Santa Monica. Within moments, 3 masked men emerged from a hedge and confronted the 2 couples. They forced the Witts to lie down in the front yard. The Hudsons were stopped at the rear of the house. Mrs. Hudson fled. Her husband was pistol whipped in the head. Gloria Witt was shot twice in the back at close range, once with a handgun and once with a shotgun.
Wow, brutal.
At 11:30 p.m., Hyman Walter and his wife Lynn were returning to their home in West LA after an evening out with Mr. and Mrs. Malcolm Brooke. 6 men confronted the couples as they got out of their car and forced them into the house. Walter was kicked in the head, and the women were sexually assaulted. The victims were tied up before the robbers left, with an estimated $5,300 in cash and jewelry, which is quite a haul in 1975.
Well, that's true. But you had the murder happen, 10 minutes, 20 minutes before this? And now you have this robbery and sexual assault happening. I'm sure the police are going, what's going on out there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But the one thing that does kind of stand out to me is, we mentioned 2 men, right, in the assault on Barbara and James, the murders of Barbara and James. And then, at 11:10, you have 3 men with masks on confronting 2 couples. 20 minutes later, you have 6 men.
Yeah.
Confronting these 2 couples, but they also force them into the house, and there's sexual assault involved and the robbery of quite a bit of cash and jewelry. So, there seem to be some differences, but also some similarity.
Right, right.
So what's going on here? Is it a whole bunch of people and they're just split up into teams? Or is 20 minutes enough time for some of them to get and find their next victim? But why such a difference in the MO?
Well, that's a good point.
I think you have to take all of it into account.
Yeah.
And maybe even a scarier thought is that they're all 3 unrelated.
That is a scary thought.
And you just have multiple bands of murderers and robbers roaming the city.
Maybe it was a full moon that night and just made everybody do some crazy stuff.
On July 25th, police arrested 6 young men believed to be involved in the shootings and robberies. Around 1 a.m., officers arrested 2 men at a residence in Venice in connection with one of the robberies. Between 1 and 5 a.m., 4 others were arrested. They were caught after 2 men were robbed at their home on Landfair Avenue in West Los Angeles. The men were tied up, and 2 masked intruders stole $5,000 in cash and valuables. A witness reported the license number of the van used in the robbery. There was a lot of talk that the 6 men were involved in all the crimes of the July 24th spree. Sergeant Larry Kalelstad of the LPD Venice Division confirmed investigators were looking into this, saying, per the LA Times, we're looking into the strong possibility that these crimes are connected. And I don't know how you couldn't look into the possibility. You'd have to, right?
You would have to.
However, on July 30th, Lieutenant Paul Burks of the LAPD's Venice Division said the 6 young men weren't connected to any of the murders. Investigators had also determined that different weapons were used in the Gloria Witt and Colby and Kiernan shootings, meaning they were most likely coincidental and not connected.
So now we have different suspects out there.
Possibly. Now, I don't think the mere fact that different weapons were used necessarily means they can't be connected.
Yeah, I mean, they could have had multiple weapons and chose which ones they were going to use for that event.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's entirely possible. 3 of the 6 defendants had been charged with a total of 20 counts involving 3 robberies in the month of July. One of those robberies was the robbery on Landfair Avenue, where a witness supplied a license number. Those charged were 19-year-old Daniel Williams, 22-year-old Terrence Powell, and 19-year-old Michael Jones. 2 others had been released, and 1 was held on parole violation. So they came out and said that none of these men were connected to the murders. I don't know what they based that on because it wasn't in the research, but pretty hard not to say that at least some of them were connected to the Landfair robbery. I mean, somebody actually got the license plate number.
Right, they were in the area.
In September 1975, the 3 episodes of the show Phyllis starring Barbara aired on TV. In a filmed tribute, co-star Cloris Leachman called Barbara one of the most joyful and giving people I have ever known. The tribute was supposed to be shown prior to the start of the series, but it was vetoed by CBS. An unnamed official said it was felt simply that the film was inappropriate and that airing the 3 episodes in which Barbara Colby appeared was enough.
We're just show the 3 episodes that she was in. That's good enough.
And not say anything about the fact that she was murdered. It seems very strange.
It does.
To me. I mean, who would be upset with a short video of Cloris Leachman saying what a wonderful person this woman was?
Yeah. I think it also helps down the road if the show becomes a hit. It's easier to explain why the new actress is going to be on episode 4.
And Barbara was replaced by actress Liz Torres. The show ran for 2 seasons before it was canceled. Barbara's final appearance to be released was the television movie The Ashes of Mrs. Reasoner, which aired in January 1976. And that's always strange, right? We know that, movies and a lot of things are taped well in advance, right? So for somebody to pass away and then for something that they made to come out 6 months later, a year later,
yeah,
it's strange, but I mean, that's just how it works.
I think we've all seen those movies where we knew the person was no longer alive, but it still, still had to be released.
Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options, no guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, price and coverage match limited by state law.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
On September 5th, 1975, authorities arrested 5 people, 4 teens and 1 adult, in connection with the murder of Gloria Witt. They were also believed to be involved in the robbery of the 2 couples at a West LA home. But they weren't suspected of any involvement in the murders of Barbara Colby and James Kiernan. The defendants were later identified as 23-year-old Raymond Mack, 18-year-old Maurice Duckett, Maurice's 17-year-old brother Carl, 17-year-old Mark Bowden, and 16-year-old Everett Brunfield. They were arrested the week prior on suspicion of discharging a weapon into an inhabited dwelling. They were released, but officers confiscated several weapons and a silver sacramental religious cup from one of their homes. The silver cup had the name Hyman Walter engraved on it. As mentioned, Hyman Walter was a victim of the July 24th crime spree. He and his wife were robbed just 20 minutes after Gloria Witt was murdered. Additionally, a shotgun recovered from the home had what was called peculiar shells, similar to the unusual type of cartridge used to kill Gloria.
I mean, I think it's some good evidence for the prosecutor.
Yeah, pretty hard not to think that these people who were arrested murdered Gloria Witt and then 20 minutes later committed this other robbery where they stole this cup that obviously belonged to Hyman Walter.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like to give criminals tips or anything, but if you are going to rob somebody, maybe don't take something that has the victim's name engraved on it.
Yeah, probably not the smartest thing to take something that has the individual's name written on it.
Well, it's an easy way to get caught, right? Now, I'm sure people think, well, I've got it at my house. Why would the police ever be in my house? Who's going to know? In an interview with the LA Times, Maurice recounted how he and 3 friends loaded up in a van and drove to Santa Monica that night. They planned to rob wealthy people and flee, like they had done in the past. Maurice attended Crenshaw High School, where he was a basketball and football star. News of his arrest was shocking to the community. Everyone involved in the Gloria Witt case was later found guilty of or pleaded guilty to first or second degree murder. Maurice Duckett served 4 years and 8 months in prison. After getting out, he became a volunteer assistant coach for Crenshaw High's basketball team. In his 1985 interview with the LA Times, he maintained that he was not the one who killed Gloria. And that could be true. My other thought is, what would be in it for him at that point to actually admit that he was the shooter? Now, they couldn't do anything to him. He'd already served his time. But if you're trying to be a volunteer basketball coach or do anything in life, probably best not to admit something like that.
I think you keep that buried.
But when it came to the murders of Barbara Colby and James Kiernan, months passed with no leads. Hollywood was further terrorized when actor Sal Mineo was stabbed to death in early 1976. Mineo was best known for his role as John Plato Crawford in the film Rebel Without a Cause, which earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the age of 17. Young, but a really good movie. At 10 p.m. on February 12, 1976, Mineo returned home from a rehearsal for the play P.S. Your Cat is Dead. He parked his car below his apartment and was stabbed once in the heart by a mugger. He was found in the alley by his neighbor, who heard his cries. The neighbor helped him to his feet, but Mineo walked just a few steps before he collapsed. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Lionel Ray Williams was later convicted and sentenced to 51 years in prison for his murder. Investigators concluded that it was a random crime, and Williams did not know who the victim was.
Just stabbed the guy because he wanted to rob him.
Which, let's face it, it does happen.
Yeah.
But in May of 1976, Mineo's murder was still unsolved. Producer Oliver Haley organized a $25,000 reward for the 3 unsolved cases. He told the San Antonio Star in May 1976, "We have to face the fact that these crimes may never be solved. The biggest stars are as vulnerable as anybody else. The Sharon Tate case showed that." And for me, Gibbs, what's interesting about, actors and actresses and even big ones, in years past, they didn't have the same type of security that a Brad Pitt or, a Leonardo DiCaprio would have today.
Yeah, I mean, it's all changed over time, for sure.
Think back about the murder of Rebecca Schaefer, and she was on this pretty big TV show.
Yeah.
For a number of years, but yet she's living in a pretty modest apartment that, wouldn't be that hard to get into.
And we covered that case on TCAT.
Yeah, a long time ago. And there have been a lot of other, celebrities, Sharon Tate. I mean, that's the guy said it. It's not like they had some big security team.
No.
Guarding these people or anything like that. Police were still waiting to interview the youths who were arrested, or the Utes.
I'd say, are you in that movie with
Joe Pesci?
Joe Pesci, yeah.
Yeah. The Utes, as Joe Pesci would say. LAPD detective Michael Maloney, who had been working the Colby and Kiernan case, admitted to the Star, "We know nothing. We've interviewed hundreds of people, hundreds. We're still hoping." And I would think that the murder of, a celebrity would draw a lot of attention. I'm not saying it should compared to any other murder case. I just have a feeling that it does.
It does, yeah.
and probably more resources would be, put towards solving it.
I mean, it's going to be in the news more. So obviously the mayor, places like that, they don't want to have all this negative news out there. So they are going to push on the police department and others to get something solved here.
Well, Hollywood, LA, they're kind of famous for stars. They're famous for famous people.
There you go.
Maloney said police were still waiting to interview the youths who were arrested shortly after the murders, adding, "We had an anonymous tip that they might be the same people, but while they're facing other charges, we can't even interview them." And that seems to be a real challenge.
Yeah. You want to interview them.
Sadly, 5 decades have passed, and the murders of Barbara Colby and James Kiernan remain unsolved. In 2026, Paul Vernon, a retired LAPD captain, told A&E, "The biggest challenge is that investigators never identified a motive. Motive often is what takes you to your suspects." And we've heard that time and time again through, a lot of different cases that we've done. I think it's highlighted a lot of times in the unsolved cases because without developing a motive, where do you go? What road do you go down? Who do you talk to?
Yeah. I mean, you have to look at the victims and say, okay, is the suspect somebody like a jealous spouse or partner? Is it, they're in the entertainment industry. Is somebody upset because they took a role from them? Is it somebody that thinks if you knock this person off, I might get their role? Or just a random robbery gone bad.
Vernon added, when detectives see a shooting with no robbery and no apparent dispute, they consider several possibilities: a targeted attack, mistaken identity, or just random violence. In this case, none of those theories could be confirmed. Investigators also never established whether Barbara was the intended victim. Vernon said, "I know that she was shot through the arm, and then it went through her chest and hit her lungs, that she bled out in the lungs. I don't know if her arm was down beside her, like she was turning away, or if her arm was up in a self-defense mode as she got shot." He noted that the crime occurred in the Palms neighborhood. In the 1970s, the neighborhood consisted of cheap apartments occupied by young actors. It was not considered a major gang area. Vernon's best guess was either a robbery that they chickened out on or a mistaken identity. Retired Sergeant Tim Loomis of the Oxnard PD also shared his theory with A&E. He said, "To me, it's a contract killing. I've been to more than my fair share of drive-bys, and they're not very neat about it. They just tend to show up, shoot everything in sight, and then keep on driving." He described the Colby and Kiernan murders as so methodical. Drive up, walk up, bam, one shot each, turn around, get in the car, and drive off. That's a cold-blooded act. I would be hard-pressed to look at this as anything other than this being a professional killing. Whoever hired them knew they would complete the job, and they would get it done, and they would be as discreet as possible.
So the question is, if it's a professional hit, was it for both of them or one of them and the other one was just
collateral damage? Yeah. Again, they just don't know. But it does go back to me kind of thinking, it seems strange that people would think of this as a drive-by. When these two guys get out of the vehicle, walk up to the two individuals, presumably say, whatever, put your hands up, and then they shoot them. You would think if they wanted to, they could have just sprayed bullets from the inside of the van.
Yeah. Why get out?
In regards to the killers, he speculated these two cats knew they could trust each other. Whoever the two were, they've done this before together. And that's kind of an interesting point because, you think about that. If you're going to be a member of a group, whether it's 2 people, 6 people, who's going to kill 2 individuals, man, doesn't there have to be some trust there that the other person's not going to squeal on you at the very least?
It's almost like a professional hit crew.
He noted there's somebody out there that knows. It's whether or not that person feels guilty enough, sad enough, or says, I can't carry this with me anymore. And I think that's true about a lot of unsolved cases. I do believe that in many of these that we do, there is at least one other person, if not multiple people, who know what happened, know who the murderer or murderers are, but they have a vested interest not to disclose that information.
Right.
So what would it take for them to disclose it? They'd have to have a falling out or, be upset with these individuals or just start to feel guilty. And for a lot of people, I don't know that the guilt sets in.
And I think at this point, knowing that the case is 50
years old,
50 years old, that the person that, or the people that did this probably must be close to their 70s.
At least probably in their 70s.
At this point, if they haven't came clean, I don't know if they would.
Yeah, I agree with you. If the guilt hasn't hit you by now, it's probably not going to.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say is that as these people get older, maybe the likelihood of some type of deathbed confession goes up. That's possible because they know they're not going to face any repercussions because they're about to die.
But if they're professional hit people, I mean, that list could be pretty long.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Colby murder investigation is still open and police welcome information. Anonymous tip lines include the LAPD at 877-527-3247, the LAPD's Cold Case Homicide Special Section at 213-486-6810, and Los Angeles Regional Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. So as we wrap this one up, Gibbs, it's a strange one for me because you have all this activity on this one night. Much of it seems to be very similar. There are some differences, though. And to me, it seems like you have this like kind of roving gang of criminals out to rob people. And maybe that was true with, Barbara and James as well. But something went wrong. And these people got scared that, maybe they saw a car or, it could be a bunch of different things, and they ended up shooting the victims and just leaving. But there are also enough differences between the murders and some of the other robberies and the sexual assaults that it is possible that some of these are just not connected at all.
Yeah. It could just be coincidence.
Or coincidence.
Yeah.
Either way.
Either way.
But it's sad, right? Because, we talked about Barbara. I think she was loved by many people, but I also think a lot of people really respected her. They respected her work ethic. And like we said, right, it seemed like she had just gotten her big break after years and years of putting in her dues to be killed after filming only 3 episodes. Now, you could say, well, the series was canceled after 2 years, but would it have been if she had been on it?
Well, that's true. We'll never know.
We don't know that. But either way, it's tragic. And then you can't forget about James as well. I don't know. I don't have the warm and fuzzy feeling that I do in some cases that, this is going to be solved. We have no record of any type of DNA that could potentially, solve the case.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't mention casings or slugs or anything.
And, when the police come out and say, yeah, we just don't really have anything. It just doesn't give you the warm and fuzzy.
Right.
But who knows? We have seen some cases that we just never thought would be solved with some technology that we didn't even know about.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
You never say never. That's for sure. But that's it for our episode on the murder of actress Barbara Colby. We got a voicemail. You want to check that out?
Let's hear it.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Elizabeth from New York calling. I love your show. I listen to True Crime all the time and True Crime all the time Unsolved. I'm listening to the Lisk cases, and you guys just brought up the Levi's 501s and the button flies, and I completely spit out my water because I always have that same thought. Whenever I go shopping with my mom and I try on jeans and there's a button fly, we look at each other and we go, not the button fly, because it's just such a nuisance. And I completely agree that a zipper is better. Love your show. You guys are the best. I'm team both of you. I love to listen to you guys, at the end of my day. Your voice is just so comforting to me, and you guys just feel like, just such good storytellers, and you guys make me feel so happy just listening to you guys banter and tell these great stories. And yeah, just keep it up. Love your show. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks for the voicemail. There is one person who I think would argue in favor of the button fly, and that's Ben Stiller's character from There's a Something About Mary.
Oh, yeah. He would take sides with more buttons, please.
Yeah, less zippers. How in the hell did you get the beans above the Frank?
That's a mystery right there.
But we appreciate the voicemail very much.
We do.
All right, that's it, buddy, for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
Truth is our
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Every day as a small business owner feels like solving a puzzle. One moment you're cruising along, and the next, there's a shipping snag that has you scrambling. But here's a surprise you will like. With Progressive, small business owners save 13% on their commercial auto insurance when they pay in full. So go ahead, surprise yourself. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Ever notice how life's best stories don't happen in your living room? They happen on the open road, out on the water, or parked under the stars. At Progressive, they get that you want to focus on the experience, not worry about the what-ifs. That's why they offer quality insurance designed for your ride, whether that's a boat, RV, or motorcycle. Adventure with confidence. Visit Progressive.com and see how easy it is to protect your favorite way to get away. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in D.C. Prices vary based on how you buy.